stop believing the myths that have been perpetuated for centuries. These myths have clouded our understanding of history and have led to a simplified and often incorrect view of the past. Instead, let's start uncovering the truth. By delving into historical documents, ancient scrolls, and archaeological findings, we can piece together a more accurate picture of our shared history. In this video, we aim to debunk common misconceptions about Ham, Shem, and Japheth, the three sons of Noah and their descendants. These figures have often been used to explain the origins of different races and civilizations, but the reality is far more complex. Remember our last video on ancient Kush and the Ethiopian Orthodox Church? We explored the rich history and cultural heritage of this ancient civilization. This time, we're diving even deeper into the roots of Ethiopian Christianity. Ethiopia has a long and storied history that is often overlooked in mainstream narratives. Did you know that ancient Ethiopia hosts one of the oldest Christian traditions in the world? This tradition reflects early Judeo-Christian practices and has been preserved through centuries of change and upheaval. Contrary to the simplistic belief that Africa is Ham, Europe is Japheth, and Shem is Asia, history shows a more complex story. The world was not divided so neatly, and the interactions between different peoples and cultures were far more intricate. For instance, Ham's descendants were not confined to Africa. They spread across the Middle East and even reached as far as India. This dispersion shows the interconnectedness of ancient civilizations. After the Tower of Babel, the descendants of Ham, including the Canaanites, scattered worldwide. This event led to the spread of their culture and influence across different regions. Evidence of their influence can be found as far as the Americas and China. Ancient artifacts and relics from these regions show similarities to those found in the Middle East, indicating a shared heritage. Even the Phoenicians, a Canaanite group, had a significant presence in the Mediterranean. They were renowned for their seafaring skills and established trade routes that connected different parts of the ancient world. The Nile River, not the Red Sea, was the border between the lands of Ham and Shem. This geographical distinction is crucial for understanding the historical and cultural interactions between these regions. So, East Africa was part of Shem's territory. This fact challenges the conventional view and highlights the need for a more nuanced understanding of ancient history. As we delve into these theological concepts, it's important to distinguish between Catholic and Roman Catholic. The term Catholic comes from the Latin word for universal, while the Greek equivalent is katholos. When the gospel was spreading, it was first preached to the Jews and then to the Gentiles. Due to colonization and the absorption of Jews into successive empires, they were dispersed abroad. For example, the Assyrian Empire played a significant role in scattering the Jews, impacting regions like Egypt and Kush. This dispersion aligns with the prophecy that Jews would be scattered to the four corners of the earth. By spreading the gospel to Jews in non-Jewish territories, it inadvertently reached the Gentiles as well. African history often overlooks the evidence that Africa hosted many Israelites fleeing from their war-torn nation. For instance, during the Babylonian exile, many Jews sought refuge in Africa. Over time, Africa became a sanctuary for Israelite refugees. However, the world tends to recognize only the Jews scattered in Europe, whose history, though traumatic, is often less bloody than their experiences in Asia. This ties back to my earlier videos on the Table of Nations, which identifies our ancestors as Ham, Shem, and Japheth. The simplistic theology that Africa is Ham, Europe is Japheth, and Shem is Asia is erroneous. Deeper research reveals more complexity. For instance, the Bible states that Cush was Nimrod's father, suggesting that Ham's descendants were not confined to Africa. Evidence shows Ham's presence in the Middle East and even India. After the Tower of Babel, Canaanites were scattered abroad. Historical evidence links Canaanite practices to tribes in the Americas, such as the Inca and Maya. One of Canaan's sons, Sin, is associated with China and the Far East. The Phoenicians, another Canaanite group, were a Mediterranean civilization present on both sides of the Mediterranean, including North Africa, Europe, and the Levant. The connection between Canaan and Africa is well documented, but Canaanites were spread worldwide. Mizraim of Egypt had a son named Caphtorim, linked to Crete in Greece, and the Philistines, another rival of Israel, were also descendants of Ham. This suggests that Ham's descendants were globally dispersed. The border between the lands of Ham and Shem was the Nile River, not the Red Sea, challenging the notion that all of Africa is the land of Ham. Part of Africa was indeed the land of Shem. For instance, the Queen of Sheba, a Sabaean, was from the line of Shem. There are also more links of other Shemites, apart from Israel and Saba, to East Africa. It is a complex problem, but to be clear, let me repeat. West Africa is clearly the land of Ham. East Africa is part of the Promised Land and part of the land of Shem, because the border is not the Red Sea, but the River Nile, commonly referred to as the River of Egypt or the River of Ethiopia in the Bible. Beyond the rivers of Ethiopia lies the land of Ham. So, where does Southern Africa lie? It is a complex problem that cannot be simply solved by saying Europeans are the sons of Japheth. It is a multi-ethnic region that hosted a lot of tribes, including Israelites, and so were the continents of Africa and Asia. Stay tuned for more myth-busting. Together we will continue to challenge the myths and uncover the truths that shape our understanding of history. Thank you for joining us on this journey of discovery.